from the algebraic expression. Okay, because the last class I couldn't do one that I already said I will do. Like I start with that. Okay. Then meanwhile others join. Maybe by 10:30 we can start mostly today all the questions on graphs, right? The focus is on graphs. I do a small part, just a small theory. I wouldn't say it's a theory, right? At least the minimum just how to draw a graph. Then on forward, right? So we discuss most of this in class, right? This session, like I said, I'm repeating again and again, not a theory session, right? Just paper discussion on especially how to do the questions, right? Not on how to understand, like not deep into it, just on shallow, mainly on how to approach questions, right? That is the whole idea of this class series. Okay. So keeping that in mind, right? So you might think I'm not teaching everything. Yes, I know I'm not teaching everything, right? Because if I'm teaching everything, I'm gonna do only one question per class, explain the whole theory. That's not the point here, right? The point is to discuss questions. If you have any doubt, yes, particularly I can clear that doubt, right? Not teach the whole lesson from the beginning. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's start then. Take out the question then, algebraic expression, equation, right? I'll start with that. 2021, the 6th essay question. Those who are in the channel, the questions are there, right? The ones I sent previously. Okay, right? The length of a side, just to do a small recap, okay? Algebraic equations, the basic, the common equation is ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, okay? So they'll give you a case scenario, mostly something related to area, right? They'll give you, for example, let's say a rectangle, they remove a square from the rectangle, and they will tell you the remaining area is equal to this. They say equal, that means there's an equation. Then you make an equation. After you create the equation, you convert the equation to an algebraic equation. That is, one side is 0, the other side you have all the other expression, right? Then what do? You have your quadratic formula, right? So that is x is equal to minus b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a, right? So then after you after you create your algebraic equation, you have your a, b, and c. A is the coefficient of x squared, the number with the x squared, b is the number with the x, c is your number, just the number without any x or x squared, right? So you put your a, b, and c into this formula, you get the value of x. You will have two values of x, right? Always. If either both can be positive, either both can be negative. Most of the time, one is positive, the other is negative. But don't have the mindset that always one is positive, the other is negative. Sometimes both can be negative. Sometimes both are positive, right? But according to the question given, only one answer is right, right? So you have to read the question properly, understand. There'll be diagrams, understand the diagram, choose the correct value for x. Okay, that is just an overall idea on how to approach this question, right? Now take out the 2021 past paper, your sixth essay. The length of side of a square lamina. Square means all the sides are equal. B is 4 centimeters more. I told you more means addition, right? So the length of a square lamina B is 4 centimeters more than the length of a side of a square lamina A. So you have two squares, lamina A and lamina B. Okay, according to the idea here, let me define the tissue. Do I go right? Right? So always for this, mostly they do give you a diagram. If they do not give you a diagram like this question, draw a diagram for yourself, right? Very important. Diagram is crucial for this. Sorry, I can't. The thing is, I can't change the settings now. It's in the channel. Yeah, it's in the channel. The questions are on the channel, right? So then we have two laminas, lamina A and lamina B, right? Clearly reading the question, the lamina B is 4 centimeters aside. If you take the lamina A as x, then lamina B is 4. Now they have told you, right? Taking the side of lamina A as x, then that means lamina B is 4 centimeters. A side of lamina B is 4 centimeters more than A. So if lamina A is X, lamina B will be 4 more than X, that is X plus 4. Right? We'll continue. The sum means addition. Okay, those words, if you don't know, underline and write the meaning. Right? Sum means addition. The sum of the area. Now, what is an area of a square, everyone? Quickly. Yes?
Length into breadth.
Okay, length into length. So now it's a square, both the sides are, all the sides are equal. So you can say length into length. But yeah, original equation, length into breadth. Good. So the sum of the area, sum means addition. Addition of the two areas is 8 square centimeter. Right. Now you have the equation there. Get the area of A here. A, one side is X, other side is a square, right? So all the sides are X here. So the area is what? X into X. Here one side is X plus 4. The other side also will be X plus 4. So what will be the area? X plus 4 into X plus 4. Addition of both the areas is equal to 88. You have the equation there. So that's how you create the equation. Then show that X satisfies the quadratic equation. So you have to prove that quadratic equation. Okay. So now, if you take the area of lamina A, that is length into length here, right? So one side is X, the other side is also X, all sides are equal, right? So then X into X is X square. That is the area of A here. Area of B, one side is X plus 4. The other side is also X plus 4. Again, length into length, right? So you might have studied, this is what? This is a square of a binomial expression. You guys must know, last class, if I remember, I told you must know how to open a bracket or expand the square of binomial. Okay. Now, x plus 4 into x plus 4, we can write it as x plus 4 squared. Right? The same term is multiplied twice. Yes? Any doubt? Right? The same term is multiplied twice. Yeah, Raihan, the thing is, I can't enable the chat. You can send whatever the message to everyone. Because in the settings, I can't change it. Yeah, okay. Fine, I muted it. I am. Okay. So then x plus 4 whole thing squared. What can you do? It's a square of a binomial expression. So that means you have 3 terms, right? The ones who don't know, learn it now. Whenever you have a square of a binomial expression is an expression with 2 terms. So x plus 4, you have 2 terms, it's called binomial expression. Square of that, when you expand it, you will have 3 terms. The first term is the square of the first term inside the bracket. So what is the first term here? X. Square of that. So x square. The second term, listen carefully, you multiply both the terms together here. X into 4. So that is 4x. Then what you do? You multiply that with 2. So 4x into 2, that is 8x. Then the last term here, you square the second term inside the bracket. That is 4 square. 4 square means 4 into 4, 16. I'll repeat it back again. Whenever you have a square of a binomial expression, you will have 3 terms. First term is square of the first term inside the bracket. Your third term is square of the second term inside the bracket. Your middle term is when you multiply both the terms together and you multiply it by 2. Every time, this is how it works. Whatever square of a binomial expression, you will have 3 terms and you will follow this method. Okay. So then, this is the area of B. Okay. Now, what did they tell you? Area of A plus area of B is equal to 88. That is the equation. Area of A is x squared. Area of B is x squared plus 8x plus 16. Now that is equal to 88. Remember the general equation of algebraic equation, right? Ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Always remember this, right? This is your basics. That means you have to take all the terms to one side and the other side should be 0. If you remember from last class, I told you, always keep your quadratic term positive under any circumstance. Okay? So this x squared, keep it positive. That means from that term, you will decide whether you move all of these terms to the right hand side or whether you move this 88 to left hand side. all on the basis of keeping this x squared positive. Now you can clearly see x squared is positive. So you keep it there. You don't move it. What do? You move the 88 here. What's the idea? One side should definitely be 0. Okay. So then what do? You take the 88 to this side. So x squared plus x squared, that is 2x squared plus 8x plus 16. Now 88 comes here, becomes minus 88, that is equal to 0. Okay. Now what do? These numbers you can subtract here. 16 minus 88. Whenever you have a positive and a negative, always subtract. We'll look at the sign later. So you have 2x squared plus 8x. Now what do? 88 minus 16, what is that? 72, right? That is 72. Then look at the larger number. What does the large number have? The large number has negative, then your final answer will be. So whenever you have a negative and a positive, always subtract. Then look at the large number. What is the sign? Put that sign there. That is equal to 0. Now also, again from the last class, we told that always you have to give the quadratic equation in the simplest form. That is, each term, if you can divide by the same number, divide it. So you have 2, 8, and 72. All of them are divisible by 2. So we are going to divide each term by 2. If you divide this by 2, you get x squared. If you divide this by 2, you get 4x. If you divide this by 2, you get 36. So then you have got your quadratic expression x squared plus 4x minus 36. That is your Roman number 1 to get the quadratic expression, right? This you get 4 marks, right? Out of 10, 4 marks. Please draw the diagram. If they didn't give you a diagram, if they do give you a diagram, mark the information on the diagram, right? Whatever they tell you on the text, mark it right then and there, right? After you mark it, write the relevant equations here. Area of A, area of B. Show the addition, derive it. This gives you 4 marks out of 10. Okay, we'll move on to Roman number 2. By taking the value of root 10 as 3.16, right? Remember from last class, they have given you the surd. This helps you in a simplification when we apply the quadratic formula, right? We said that at the end of the day, you have a square root. There you will have an entire surd. You have to convert that entire surd to a surd. This is the surd that will help you. We'll come there, right? Find the length of a side of lamina A. What is the length of side of lamina A? That is your x there. Indirectly, they're telling you to find the value of x. Okay. Now we know the quadratic formula. I'm going to raise the board, right? We are going to apply, so we know the quadratic equation. We're going to use the quadratic formula. I told you last class also, there is another method called completing the square. Yes, but this method is more than enough to get you full marks. Also, this is just a memorization of formula. It's way more easier to memorize a formula than studying another method. Trust me, right? Because that method, you always have to think actively to follow that method. Okay, so it is best if you memorize the formula here that I give you, go to the exam, just vomit the formula and substitute and get the answer. Okay, good. So then the formula is, if you didn't write it down last class, x is equal to minus b plus or minus square root b squared minus OAC, divide the whole thing by 2a, right? If you ask me what is this a, b and c, right? Look at this quadratic equation. The coefficient, the number with x squared, that is your a. If there is no number, what is this number, everyone? Yes?
1.
1.
Okay, I told you if there is no coefficient, that means coefficient is 1. Okay, so then here b is the coefficient of x here, that is 4. C is your number, that is minus 36. Okay, now let's say you derive the equation, you get jumbled here. You get 4x plus x squared minus 36. Don't get confused. Always a is the coefficient with the x squared. B is the coefficient with x here. C is the number. Okay, even though order changes, you know what is A, B, and C. That should be in memory. Okay, right. So then here, x is equal. Now, before substituting, put what is A, B, and C. Okay, your A here is equal to 1, right? Your B here is equal to 4. your C here is equal to minus 36. All right. Now substitute those values. X is equal to, I told you this minus is part of the formula. There is a minus to the b. B will again can have a negative. Like, okay, here b is positive, but sometimes when you put minus here, b is again negative. Then you open a bracket, put the negative separately. But here that's not the case. B is positive, right? So then don't need to put any bracket. Plus or minus in the square root, 4 squared minus 4 into A is 1, C is minus 36. Okay? Divide the whole thing by 2a, 2 into 1. Now simplify this in the square root, minus 4 plus or minus. We have 4 squared is 16, minus 4 into minus 36. Minus and minus is plus, 4 into 36. See here, 36 into 2 is 72. 72 into 2, that is 144. Divide by 2 here. Can someone unmute and tell me, can I simplify this 4 and 2? Yes, quickly.
Yes, no.
Quickly.
No.
I told you multiple times, even in my class, I remind you again and again and again, because I've seen many papers. What do? You simply cut this 4 and 2. After all this hard work, don't do that simple mistake. Okay? At that point, if you do that, it's not even a mistake. You don't understand mathematics. So don't do that mistake. Okay? So 4 and 2, you can't cut it off. There's a plus and a minus here. So then what do? Keep it like that. Simplify the square root here. Plus or minus in the square root. 144 plus 16, that is 160 divided by 2. Right. Now this is where your square root of 10 comes in handy. Okay. So now you know this 160. Give me a moment.
Recording in progress.
Right. So then you know, see here, this 160 is an entire surge. I told you the difference between entire surge and surge. Surge, you can't simplify it further. Okay? Those, all the surge. Right? I told you difference between surge. Any square root which is not a perfect square, it is called a surge. You know perfect squares, 1, 4, 9, 16, 20, 25, right? So any number which is not a perfect square, the square root of that number is called a surd. In that surd, there are some called entire surd. Entire surd means you can simplify it further. Within that entire surd, you can write it as a perfect square and a surd here. For example, in this question here, you have 160. Now they have given you the square root of 10, which means along the way on the question, you need the square root of 10. So that means this 160 can be written as 10 into something. 10 is your surd. Into that something should be a perfect square. 10 into what is 160, everyone?
16.
Very good. 16. 16 is a perfect square, as you know, right? So then here, now we can find the square root of 16. What is the square root of 16, everyone?
4.
Very good.
4.
4 root 10. Divide the whole thing by 2. Okay? Right. So now, what we can do, they have given you the square root of 10. Right? So x is equal to, yes, minus 4 plus or minus 4 root 10 divided by 2. Now we can get rid of this denominator. Why? Because 4 and 4, you can take a common 2. Right? If you take the common number as 2, 2 into minus 2 is minus 4, plus or minus 2 into 2 is 4 again. So 2 root 10 divided by 2. Now 2 is multiplied here. Now you can cut it off. Okay, now you can cut it off. Now you remain with x is equal to minus 2 plus or minus 2 root 10. Now this is the maximum simplified version, right? So guys, after you apply the quadratic formula, simplify as much as possible before you take the plus and minus two values. One is positive, the other is negative. Before you do that, simplify as much as possible. Okay? Now you can substitute the root of 10 here also. x is equal to -2 plus or minus 2 into, they gave you the question, root 10 is 3.16. Right? So x is equal to -2 plus or minus 2 into 3.16, 6.32. Now take the positive and negative. X is equal to -2. I'll take the positive value for 6.32, or two values. X is equal to -2. We took positive here. Take the negative. 6.3. Positive and negative, as I told you, always subtract. 6.32 minus 2, that is 4.32. Look at the large number, what's the sign? Plus. So one value is 4.32, or the other value. Now here both are negative. That means negative and negative getting added becomes more negative. Right? Some of you guys think it becomes positive. No. Multiplication only makes it positive. Minus into minus is positive. But here, negative and negative is getting added, becomes more negative. So then minus 8.32. So these are your two solutions, right? Can someone tell me, do I take the positive value or the negative value here? According to this question, both are correct.
Positive value.
According to
Positive
this
value.
question, you only take the positive value. What will be your, give a reason for it?
Because length can't be
Length
negative.
can't be negative.
Very good. Length cannot be negative. Okay. So then here the x is positive because length, x is the what? A side of, I erased it. Okay. X is a side of a square. Obviously can't be negative. So then you will tell x is equal to, okay, or side of square A is equal to 4.32. Right? You, until here, if you do, no full marks. Okay, they give you marks, but here you have to write your final conclusion. Side of square A is equal to 4.32. Right. Finally, show that the difference in the area of the two lamina is 8 into 6.32. Okay. Difference. That difference means subtraction. Right. So of A, it was x squared. Of B, it was x squared plus 4x plus 16. Okay. So then, what are they asking for? 8 into 6.32. So difference means subtraction. So B minus A. So x squared plus 4x plus 16 minus x squared. Area of A minus area of B. X squared plus x squared will get cancelled off. Now, what can we do here? We can substitute the value of A here, I mean the value of x here, 4.32. 4 into 4.32 plus 16. 8 into 6.32. Any ideas?
Sir, it should be 36, right? Not 60.
Which one? In the question?
Area of B. Area of B.
Area of B. No, 16, right? We found a 16. 4 squared, x plus 4 squared, yeah, it's 16, correct. So show the difference in the area of the two laminas is 8 into 6.32. 8 into 6.32. So then, right. So then what can we do here? We can take 4 as common. Can we take 4 as common? Right. So if you take 4 as common out here, we can take 8 as common, right? So then if you take 8 as common here, look at the word, right? If you take 8 common, right? So what will you have here? 4 into 4, right? Will do the multiplication or not? We can take 8 as common, right? If you take 8 as common here, you will have 2.32 plus 2, right? Is it correct? Wait. What can we take as a common factor here? Anyone? Any ideas? So 4
So if you multiply, you can take 8.
Yeah, if you do the multiplication, it's not very wise. Without doing the multiplication.
So why did you write
32 there?
Sorry,
Why did you write 32?
why did I write 32? 32, 4.32. That is the
That's great. Okay.
that is the side of square x value, right? We found the x value 4.32, right? So here, if you take, wait, let's take here. Okay, let's do the multiplication. 4 into 2 is 8. 4 into 3 is 12 and 1 here. 4 into 4 is 16 plus 1, 17. But here they are not expecting you to multiply and get the answer. Okay, that's not the expectation.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah,
Sir, can't we take 2?
2 as the common factor. Yeah, that's a good idea, right? You take 2 as the common factor, right? If you take 2 as the common factor, you have 2 into 4.32 plus 8, right? 2 into 4.32 plus 8. But then here, we are not getting the answer. Okay, leave it. I'll let you know the answer.
Excuse me, sir.
Okay, I don't have time to. Yeah,
2 into
Excuse me, sir.
2.32.
2 into 2.32. Why 2 into 2.32?
No, if you take it as a common factor.
No. This is one term, right?
Excuse me, sir.
This is one term. This is one term. So if you take 2 out, you have to take 2 from here only. Okay, leave it. I'll send you the answer on the group, right, on the channel. It's okay because we have 5 more graph questions to discuss. We'll do that. Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Instead of using the full form, can we use it as the bracket form, like x plus 4 squared?
We'll try to do this otherwise. So we'll take here 4 as a common factor.
Excuse me, sir.
X plus 4, right? Wait. We have x plus 4 here. No, still no. Yeah. Any ideas?
Sir, actually, b is equals to x squared plus 8x plus 16.
Ah, really? Okay, that's where we went wrong. Fine. Thank you for that. Right, now it's correct, right? So now we take 8 common here. We have x plus 2. Thank you for that valuable information. So then, so we have 8 into x is what? X is 4.32 plus 2, right? So 8 into 4.32 plus 2, that is 6.32. Okay, I just think there's something wrong in the question. I mean, I have taken it wrong from here, right? It's actually 8x, not 4x. My bad for wasting the time, right? Each minute is valuable for you guys. I'm really sorry, right? Okay, now we'll move on to the graph part, right? Before doing the graph question, I'll give you a quick summary, 15-minute summary, right? Let's keep it 11 o'clock, right? 11 o'clock on how to draw a graph, because out of 10 marks, you can earn 4 marks just by learning how to draw a graph. Okay, then quickly I'll give you ideas on what is this graph and how to get along with the question. When we are discussing question also, I'll put some theory here and there, right? Because I know just giving the question, you can just look at the past paper answers and get an idea, right? You have to come here and learn something, no, right? That's something I'll try to give you guys. Okay, right. Now, put your pens down. I might be a bit fast here. Like if you guys have any doubt, please drop a message on WhatsApp. More than ready to answer anyone's question, right? Okay. So then, graphs. So then when you take graphs, you guys have 2 types of graphs. One is a parabola, that's a curved graph. The other is a straight line graph, right? So for your essay question, the focus is a curved graph. All right. So then here, I'll focus today only on curved graphs. Your part 1 paper has a 2-mark question on straight line graphs. I'm not going to focus on that, right? You guys have to figure it out and see. That is regarding y is equal to mx plus c. Try to figure out this. Today, the focus is on the essay. Okay, right. So then when you take a graph, we draw a graph for an equation, right? They'll give you an equation. You're going to draw the graph for an equation. Now, that equation, there's a reason I'm doing graph after algebra, right? That equation, again, is a quadratic equation. right? Or you call it a quadratic function. You will come across the word function, graph, y-axis, all of means the graph, right? Always remember the graph correlates to y-axis. Whenever they say the graph is increasing, that means they are talking about the y-axis. Okay, so when I say the graph is decreasing, that means the y value is reducing. When I say the graph is positive, that means the y value is positive. So always when we follow the graph, you always look at the y value. Keep that in mind. Okay, right. So we draw a graph, right? When we are drawing a graph, we draw a graph on something called a Cartesian plane. A Cartesian plane has two axes. One is your y-axis, the other is your x-axis. Right now, before drawing a graph, you should know where to draw the graph. For that, you have certain points to mark on the Cartesian plane. Okay, now these points, now you should know the location where to mark it, right? This location is indicated by something called coordinates, right? Now you know Cartesian plane has y and x axis, okay? So then for you to mark a point on the Cartesian plane, that one point should have a y value and should have an x value. Together, you call it a coordinate, right? For example, here, let's say this is a Cartesian plane with x and y values. Just a simple example. Right now, here, if I mark a point, let's say I mark a point here, right? When I mark a point here, the location is a Cartesian plane. The location of the Cartesian plane, we give it as a coordinate, an x value and a y value. Always we go in that order. First x, then y. Here the relevant x value is -2, the relevant y value is 1. So the coordinate is -2, 1. Okay, so likewise, now we will draw a table and get the coordinate for each point on the graph, right? So when we get the coordinate, you should know how to read that coordinate and mark the point on the Cartesian plane for you to draw a graph. That's the basic idea. Okay, now you will get a quadratic equation in the exam. Right now, for example, let's say they will give you y is equal to x squared. This is just an example, plus 2x minus 3. Okay, so x squared plus 2x minus 3. In the exam paper, they will give you all the values of x. For example, let's say they will tell you take the values of x from -4 to +2. Okay, they will tell you take the values of x from -4 to +2. So then here they have given you the value of x. Okay, so x value is given. For example, let's say they give you x is equal to -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that means x is given. Let's say x is equal to -3. You will put the -3 here, -3 squared plus 2 into -3 minus 3. You will get the relevant y value. So for that x value, you will get the y value. So for one point, you have an x and you have a y. There you have a coordinate. Likewise, for all the x values given, you should find the y values. And then for each point, you have an x value and a y value. That's how you will mark it on the graph, right? Luckily for you, they give you only one blank. Out of 6, 7 values, 6 is filled for you, only one blank. So you will use this equation. You have the x value, then you will find out the y value using the x value. Right. Now, let's take the first paper there. Right. I'll show you how to take the first paper. I mean, how to draw the graph on the first question. Then after, we can draw the graph for the rest of it. Okay. Take the first question there. Right. 2018. Y is a quadratic function of x, an incomplete table containing of the values of y. Okay, let's not jump to 2018. Take 2019. I'll tell you why we are not taking 2018 later. Right, to come to the next question, 2019. An incomplete table showing the y values corresponding to several x values of the quadratic function y is equal to x squared minus 2x. within the interval -2, x is greater than or equal to -2, x is less than or equal to 4, which means x is from -2 to 4. Okay. Right. So they have given the x value. The table, there is only one blank. You can see there, you have to find that y value. So what is the equation given to you? Y is equal to x squared minus 2x. That is your equation of the graph. So then in the table, x, y, -2, from -2 to 4, right? Yeah. So -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So then after, they have given you the y values, 8, 3, 0, -1, 0, blank, and 8 here. Okay. Roman number 1, they have told you to find this blank. Find the value of y when x is equal to 3. Now you know the equation here. Equation is given. X value is also given. Just substitute the x value, find out the y value. That's not difficult at all. So y is equal to x squared minus 2x. You know the x value. X is equal to 3. So 3 squared minus 2 into 3. 3 squared is 9. Minus 2 into 3 is -6. So then y is equal to 3. Right? So we have filled the blank here. Now, look carefully. This is one point. You have an x value, a y value. X, y, x, y. So all of these are points on the graph. Right? So altogether, how many points? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. Each point has an x value and a y value. Okay. Now that you have the coordinates of the points there, right? Now, drawing the Cartesian plane is not yet another simple thing. It's easy, right? But you don't just take your graph paper. Let's say this is your graph paper. Right? You don't just take your graph paper, draw the y in the middle and x in the middle and start putting the points there. No, that's wrong. What do? You look at your x value here and your y value. X value, what you have? Mostly positive than negative. Y value, what you have? Mostly positive. See, only 1 minus 1. Positive 8. X here have positive 4, only -2. That means on the x-axis, you need more positive than negative. On the y-axis also, you need more positive than negative. Now, the x-axis is divided by the y-axis into positive and negative, positive and negative. So that means you have to draw your y-axis more towards this side, so you will have more positive on the x-axis. Right? So your y-axis not will be in the middle. Don't draw it in the middle. They give you a 1 marks to put the Cartesian plane properly. Right? So your y-axis should be towards this side, leaving more room for positive x values. Similarly, if you look at the y-axis here, you have more positive. Now the x-axis will divide the y into positive and negative. You can clearly see you need more positive. So you will leave room for more positive and draw your x-axis all the way down here. Right? Now that is how you draw your Cartesian plane, not randomly in the middle. Wrong idea. Okay? So the correct idea, you will look at the x and y values. After that, you will draw your x-axis and y-axis. Right? Now the next thing, the standard number of boxes. Now, I don't have a graph paper. If you have a graph paper, look at your graph paper. You will have large boxes and small boxes. Now let's say this is one large box. It will be divided into 5 boxes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? It will be divided into 5 boxes like this. So one large box has 5 small boxes. Right? Actually 25. On one side, you have 5 small boxes. Okay. Now the standard number of boxes for one point is 2 large boxes. Right? So that means 0 here, 1. This should have 2 large boxes. 2, another 2 large box. 3, another 2 large box. 4 here, another 2 large box. Likewise, each point here should have 2 large boxes. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Each of this, they should have 2 large boxes between them. Okay. So then here you have 1, let's put 2 here. Right. Now your Cartesian plane is ready. 1 marks is given for you. 1 marks here, 1 marks here, 2 marks you have got. Now your third marks is to mark the points correctly. Right. Look at your first point, -2 and 8. -2 on the x-axis, 8 on the y-axis. Place a point here. Always you place a point, place a dot, circle the dot. Place a dot, circle it. If you ask me why, your graph paper has a lot of lines. If you just place a dot, you draw a graph on top of that dot, you can't even see the dot. Okay, so always place a dot, circle the dot to show the examiner you have placed that dot over there. Okay, so you follow the same thing to all the points. -1, 3, x is -1, y is 3. -1 and 3 here, your second point. Then 0, 0, that's here. Then you have 1, -1 on your x-axis, -1 on your y-axis. Then you have 2, 0, 2 on the x-axis, 0 on the y-axis. Then you have 3, 3, that's here. Then finally 4, 8. Okay, so that you have completed marking all the points on the Cartesian plane. Another marks. So altogether now you have got 3 marks. Your last marks is to draw a smooth graph. This needs a bit of a practice. You don't get it on the first day, right? So then you have to draw it freehand. Don't use any rulers. Now some people, they use the pen tubes to get the curve here. Right, in the beginning, no problem, but at the end of the day, the freehand draw. It should be nicely drawn freehand. Okay, you will start on one corner, let's say on the left side, right? Slowly join these points. Remember, it should be a single line. Okay, don't sketch it. Right? You will not draw like sketches like this. No, wrong. Right? Should be a single line. Then you get those points likewise. Okay. All right. So then this is the graph, something like this. You should get on your graph paper. Okay, everyone. Did you guys get an idea on how to draw a graph? Right. This is the minimum I could do. Right. If I can teach you more than this, obviously, but there's no time. Like I said, the purpose of the class will be lost. Right, I'll tell you, go home. I mean, after class, definitely not after class, tomorrow, practice. Please practice. Now it's going to come out of practice, right? Main thing, first, look at the equation, fill in the blank. It'll give you 1 marks. Then analyze the x and y values. Don't just take your graph paper, draw the x and y axis right in the middle. Wrong. What will you do? Look at the x and y values on the table. You will see whether you need more positive or more negative. Likewise, y-axis, more positive or more negative. You will analyze them carefully, then you draw your axis like this. That gives you another marks. After that, look at your point. What are the x and y values, coordinates? You will place the coordinates accordingly. You will get another point. Finally, what will you do? You will draw a smooth graph, like I said, that takes a bit of a practice. Is that clear, everyone? Any doubt there? Anyone who have any doubt? Please, you can unmute and talk. No? Right. Now, okay. Now we'll see what are the characteristics of the graph. Right. Quickly. Now, we always read the graph. Now, you should be able to read the graph, right? We always read the graph when the x value is increasing. What's happening to the graph? See here. Now, x value is increasing in this direction. Now, what's happening when x is increasing? The graph is decreasing, x increasing, graph decreasing, reaching a minimum point. And when x is increasing further, the graph is increasing again. So this type of graph, where when the x increases, the graph reduces, reaches a minimum point, increases back again. Minimum point, a minimum graph, right? So when the x increases, the graph is reducing, reaching a minimum point, increasing back again. That's called a minimum graph. Now, even without drawing the graph, just looking at the equation, you can tell whether it's a minimum, what will be the other graph? That will be a maximum graph. Now I'll just draw a rough sketch here. What will a maximum graph look like? Now let's say this is your y-axis, your x-axis. Let's say here, this is how a maximum graph will look like. That is here, when x is increasing, the graph will increase, reach a maximum value, then reduce back again when x is increasing, right? So it's called a minimum graph, like a U shape, maximum graph, and upside down U shape. Now, how do you look at the equation and tell whether it's a minimum graph or a maximum graph? Always we look at the quadratic term, okay? If the quadratic term is positive, then your graph is minimum. If the quadratic term, what is the quadratic term? The unknown square, x square here, right? If your x square is positive, your graph is minimum. If your x square is negative, your graph is maximum, right? That is how you look at the graph. You look at the equation and tell whether the graph is maximum or minimum. Okay, that is one characteristic. After you explain whether the graph is maximum or minimum, what do? You look at the minimum value, right? I'll talk about minimum. It applies the same to a maximum graph, right? So you look at the minimum value. Here, what is the minimum value? Now, I'm asking you the minimum value of the graph. What I tell you, the graph always correlates to the y-axis. So when I say the minimum value, you look at the y value here. Y value is equal to 1. So minimum value is 1. Then next thing, what is the axis of symmetry?
-1.
Axis of symmetry means, now if you see here, the graph upon the turning point, this is called the turning point, right? Upon the turning point, the graph is equal on both the sides. There's a word for that, a scientific word. You call that mathematical, scientific, whatever, you call that symmetrical. The graph is symmetrical upon the turning point. Now what do? If you draw a line at the turning point here, now this is called the axis of symmetry. This is the line, left and right, the graph is the same. So it's symmetrical. So then this is called the axis of symmetry. The relevant x value, what is the x value? That is equal to 1. That x value is called equation of axis of symmetry. Simple as that. Your minimum value, your equation of axis of symmetry. Finally, the coordinates of the turning point. I told you this is your turning point. The relevant x and y value will give you the coordinates of the turning point. So what is the coordinate here? 1 is the x value, 1 is the y value. So coordinates of the turning point, that is 1, 1. So you comment on the graph, minimum or maximum graph. Minimum, if it's here, it's a minimum graph. Then you tell the minimum value. Then you tell the equation of axis of symmetry. Whenever they ask you the equation of axis of symmetry, don't just give the value. Now here it's 1. Don't just tell 1. You should tell x is equal to 1. That should be the answer, right? Finally, the coordinates of the turning point. See here, this is the turning point. Give the coordinate, the x and the y value, 1, 1. Okay, that is the basic way to describe a graph. Yes, any doubt?
1, -1, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. 1, -1. Yes. Thank you. 1, -1. Okay, right. Then, after you describe that graph, right, we'll look at the question, we'll see what they're asking for. Right, Roman number 3, write the coordinates of the turning point of the graph. So then what's the answer there? Roman number 2 is draw the graph. We have drawn the graph. Roman number 3, write the coordinates of the turning points here. X, y, that is 1. Write in a bracket. Always the coordinates are written in a bracket. 1 is the x value, -1 is the y value. So 1, -1. Always remember coordinates x, y. First the x value, then the y value. Next, express the given quadratic function in the form of y is equal to x minus a squared plus b, where a and b are two numbers, right guys? Now, see here, the graph is usually drawn in the basic quadratic equation. Just before we learned what is the basic quadratic equation, that is your ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. When the 0 is replaced by y, I'll write the y on this side. Now, this is your basic quadratic function, right? Function means the equation of the graph. This is your basic quadratic function. All the graph has a basic quadratic function. Now what you can do, this function can be converted into two forms, right? Can be converted into two forms. One in the form of y is equal to x plus b squared plus c. I'll explain you how to get this form just looking at the graph. No any difficulty. I'll tell you how. Okay. Another form, y is equal to x plus a into x plus b. These are the two forms. So now in the paper class, I know I didn't teach you this form because I'll be teaching today. Okay, it's not very important, but I'll just give you a idea on what is this form. Okay, right. One more thing I missed. Right now, when you are describing the graph, also there's something called roots of a graph. Right, roots of a graph means when the graph cuts the x-axis. You can see the x-axis here, right? When the graph cuts the x-axis, you can see the graph is touching the x-axis on 2 points. One is this point here, another is this point. Those 2 points, the relevant x values are called roots of the graph. Okay, they are called roots of the graph. So when they ask you what are the roots of the graph, there are two roots. One is x is equal to 0. The other root, x is equal to 2. So there are two roots. Okay, so altogether there are 5 basic characteristics you have to describe. We have to tell when describing a graph. Minimum or maximum graph, minimum or maximum value, equation of axis of symmetry, coordinates of the turning point, then the roots of the graph. Okay, 5 things. Remember that. All right. So like we'll get back to this equation, the function part. This is the basic quadratic function for a graph. Now this can be converted into two forms. Now don't think these are two separate forms. No, this is converted. We don't need to know how it is converted. Okay, we'll just learn what are the special characteristics. Why do we convert this? There should be a reason, right? We are not converting it for no reason. There is a reason why we converted this graph, and there's a reason into this form. And there's a reason why we convert it into this form. For now, we'll learn this on when we are going on the way. If you encounter in the question this form, I'll teach you that part also. Right. Now, this form here, y is equal to ax squared. Sorry, y is equal to, see, actually it's written properly like this, plus or minus x plus b whole thing squared plus c. Right. Now this y and x won't change. X is the x-axis, y is the y-axis. That will never change, right? So what will you have to know what is this b and c? Okay, listen carefully. Important, very important. Always, if you take any past paper, this form is repeatedly asked. We have to know what is this form. So listen very carefully. Right. This b, write it down if you want. Right. What is this b? B is the negative of equation of axis of symmetry. What is B? B is the negative value of the equation of axis of symmetry. Now here, what is the equation of axis of symmetry? That is equal to 1. When you write in this form, b is the negative value of that. Minus into 1. So then b is equal to minus 1. All right. Now what is c? C is the minimum or maximum value. If it's a minimum graph, c will be the minimum value. If it's a maximum graph, c will be the maximum value. Like I said before, what is this plus or minus? Positive means it is a minimum graph. Negative means it is a maximum graph. So only 3 things you must know. You have to know the format of this form. Y is equal to plus or minus x plus b squared plus c. Now in your exam, this b and c are just unknown terms, right? They will change this b and c. That means they will give you the exam. This can be p, this can be q. This can be L, this can be M. So B and C can be any English alphabet, right? You have to remember, what should you remember? The term inside the bracket along with the x. What is that term? That is the negative of the equation of axis of symmetry. Okay? The term outside the bracket, outside the square, it can be any English alphabet. What is that? That is the minimum or the maximum value. This positive negative will indicate whether this graph is a minimum graph or a maximum graph. Now, right, we'll write this graph in this format. Looking at the graph, you can write this form, right? Looking at the graph, tell me whether it's a minimum or a maximum graph. Everyone?
Minimum.
Minimum.
graph.
Minimum graph. So will it be positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive.
Negative.
Outside is a positive value, right? Positive is for minimum graph, negative for maximum graph. Okay? All right. So then, now open the bracket x, right? Now this term here, I told you in the exam, it can be any English alphabet, right? Don't just think it will always be B. No, it can be any English alphabet. What should you get the idea? Whatever the term, the number along with the x here inside the bracket, what is that number? That is the negative value of the equation of axis of symmetry. What is the axis of symmetry? See here, x is equal to 1. This 1 is the axis of symmetry. Okay. Now, what is the negative value of that? 1 into minus value, that is minus 1. So square. Now, what is this C here? C is the minimum value. What is your minimum value? Minimum value is minus 1. So now what have we done? We have converted, see here, this format into this format. Y is equal to x minus 1 squared minus 1. That is your answer for your Roman number 4. Is that clear, everyone? Any doubt you have?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Amani?
Sir, can you explain what B is?
Yeah, B. Like I said, again, I'm repeating. You guys confuse yourself. This B is just to give you an idea. It's an unknown term, right? This B can be any letter in the English alphabet. Now, what has happened in the question here? This is A and this is B. Understood? So this can be, remember, any English alphabet. What should you get in your mind? The number. This B is a number. The number with the X here. What is the idea? What is that meaning of that number? That is the negative value of the axis of symmetry. That is one thing. So what is the axis of symmetry here? That is 1. What is the negative value of that? Minus 1. So this B is minus 1 here. Like I said, B can be, this can be P, this can be Q, Z, whatever it is, it can be any English alphabet here. Is that understood? Okay, Amani?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other doubt? Anyone?
How do you get that C as minus 1?
Yeah, C is simply the minimum or the maximum value. What is the minimum value here? When the graph reaches the minimum point, the relevant Y value, minus 1, minus 1. Okay, Naila?
Okay.
Yes, Zainab? Okay, give me a moment. Okay, now guys, just to give you an idea, this Saturday we'll be having data representation and interpretation. Okay, so every Saturday we have from 1:45 to 5:30, right? So here I'll not be discussing much theory, right? So there it's focused on, it's a revision class. So we'll be doing the theory as well as past paper questions. Okay, so then if you guys want to join the class, you can drop me a message, right? Just to get a very good idea on the theory before facing the paper. Okay, so data representation, I'll send you guys some more information on the channel. That is a pie chart, your histogram, your frequency distribution, sorry, yeah, later, that is later, a frequency polygon, and your cumulative frequency. That is your structured essay paper, question on your structured essay. On your essay, you have a whole question on frequency distribution tables. We'll be discussing that separately as well. Not in one class, We'll be having 3 classes for all those topics. Okay, I'll give you further information on the channel. Make sure that you check it out. Okay, so then we have converted this format to this format here. That'll give you 2 more marks on the Roman number 4. Lastly, right, one thing I missed, that is you should be able to give the relevant x value on the way the graph behaves. Okay, I'll give you a small idea quickly. Everyone look at the board. Right, most of you guys, I know you don't understand this on the first time. No problem. Right, try to get an idea at least. So when you are doing the other questions today, right, you will have some idea before leaving the class. Okay, now we'll focus on this question first of all. Right, now see here what's happening to the graph. Now one thing you have to remember, the graph is never starting here or the graph is never ending here. Just because why did the graph start here? Because you started the x value at -2. Because you start the x value is -2, that's why the graph is starting here. Let's say you took -3, -4, -5. Graph will keep on coming, right? So remember, there is no starting point, no ending point. That you have to remember. Okay. Second thing. See now, I told you always, how do we read the graph? We read the graph when the x value increases. We read the graph. What happens to the graph? I'll just give you a small idea. See here, x value will start from -2, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. X is increasing. What's happening in the graphs here? X is increasing, graph reducing, 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 reaching a minimum point. X further increasing, graph is increasing, increasing, keeps on increasing, infinity. Okay, there is no ending point. Remember that very well. Okay. Now we can break this down graph into mainly 4 parts. You can ask other questions. I'll come to that part in a while. Mainly 4 parts. See here. Now I told you there's no starting point for the graph until the graph becomes, right? We can, okay, I'll break it down in 2 parts. Okay, so that you understand better. We can break it down in 2 parts. First thing we can tell on what part the graph is positive and on what part the graph is negative. See here, I told when you tell a graph, what do you look at? You look at the y-axis. Okay. So the graph is positive until here. There's no starting point. The graph is positive until here. See here, when it passes the x-axis, it gets negative value. Look at the y here, gets negative, still negative until it reaches this point here. Right? So then above these two, the graph is positive. Below here, the graph is negative. So graph can be divided into 2 parts, positive part, negative part. That is one way to describe the graph. Another way is to say the graph is decreasing until the minimum value and the graph is increasing after that. Okay. So then you can tell, see here, describe it in 2 ways. One is if the graph is positive or graph is negative. The other is the graph reducing or is the graph increasing or decreasing or increasing. Is that clear, everyone? Did you understand that part where I can divide the graph into 2 ways? Okay. Yes. Okay. Now I'll divide the graph. I'll put 1. Right. 1 is from wherever it is starting, infinity until this point, that is 1. From this point to infinity again, that is 2. Right. You guys have to answer. Tell me, the graph is increasing. Is it 1 or 2? Graph is increasing. 1 or 2? 2. Right. You can see here. And the 1 here, the graph is reducing. Here, the graph is increasing. So graph is increasing 2. 1 is decreasing. Okay. Right. So then again, I'll mark it here. Above the x-axis here, the graph is 1. Below the x-axis here, the graph is 2. Tell me, the graph is negative. Is it 1 or 2?
2.
Right. Now what we can do, we can join both of them. Okay, we can combine both of them, right? We can tell first part here. I'll describe the first part. See here, the graph is decreasing and positive. That is one thing, right? One thing, see here, the graph is decreasing until this point. Okay, until this point, the graph is decreasing and it is positive. Then afterwards, here, Now the graph is still decreasing, but now it is negative. I'll name it as number 2, right? From here to here, graph is decreasing and negative. Then from here to here, the graph is increasing now, but still negative. Then from this point until infinity, we don't know where it is stopping. The graph is increasing and positive. Okay, so combining both of these together, graph is decreasing and positive, graph is decreasing and negative, graph is increasing and negative, graph is increasing and positive. Okay, now simply what we have to do, we just have to give the x values now. You understood how the graph is positive and negative, increasing and decreasing, putting everything together. Now just give the x value. Right, I'll teach you the first part. See here. Now the graph is here, the graph is decreasing and positive. Which part the graph is decreasing and positive? See here, number 1, the graph is decreasing and on the positive side. Until what value? See here, until x is equal to 0. Until x is equal to 0, the graph is decreasing and positive. So what can you say? Any values less than 0, the graph will keep on decreasing and it will be always on the positive side. So if they ask you, what are the values of x for which the graph is decreasing and positive, you will tell whenever x is less than 0. See, what are the values less than 0? -1, -2, -3. Any values less than 0, the graph will decrease and be positive. Okay, right. Next one. No, second one here. What is second one? Graph is still decreasing, but now it is negative. Right? Now the difference between the 1 and 2 here, 1 did not have a starting point. I told you, 1 does not have a starting point. So any values you take less than 0, x values you take less than 0, it will be decreasing and positive. But now if you look at the second part here, where the graph is decreasing and negative, it has a starting point and an ending point. So it is a range. You have a starting point and an ending point. Here, any values more than 0, x values, I'm talking about x values. Any x values more than 0, right? Whatever less than 0, the graph was reducing and positive. Any values now more than 0, what can you say? The graph is decreasing and negative. But can we take any values? If you take x is equal to 2, is the graph decreasing and negative? No, there the graph is increasing. So you should stop, give a limit. So any values more than 0 until what point? Until x is equal to 1. So any values more than 0 and less than 1. In that range, the graph will be decreasing and will be negative. So you will tell any x values more than 0, any values more than 0, but until less than 1. In this range, the graph will decrease and be negative. Right. Now you guys have to answer. Okay, the third part. This is the first part. This is the second part. Your third part. Graph is now increasing, but still in the negative side. Can you give me the relevant x values? Yes. Try and see.
X is more than 1 and less than 2.
Very good. See here. X here. This is the part. Graph is increasing and negative. From here to here is the x values. Whatever the x value is more than 1 and whatever the x value is less than 2, in that range, 1 to 2, right? So x more than 1, less than 2, in this range, the graph will increase and be negative. Lastly, the fourth one, the graph is increasing, but it is positive. You can see here, from this point onwards, the graph is positive and increasing. So you can see x is equal to 2, the graph is 0. Any values more than 2, x, the graph is increasing and positive. So you will say any values x more than 0. X greater, 2, I'm sorry, 2. Any x value more than 2 here, the graph will be positive and increasing. Is that okay, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. We'll
Yes.
see what is the question they have asked you. Right. Okay. The question won't be this straightforward. Okay, we'll see what they have asked you. But this is the idea. Okay, you have to be able to write the x values when the graph is changing. Now here, they have given you a specific range of the graph. Write the intervals of values of x on which the function means the graph, increases within the range. What is the range? Y is greater than -1. This is the value. I'll draw lines here, okay, just to show you, have an idea. This is the value, or this is the line where y is equal to -1. Now, what are they saying? Y is greater than -1. Graph is increasing. They said your graph is increasing. That means from this, any point the graph is increasing. That is one rule. What is the other rule? Y should be greater than -1 and less than 3. Right? So graph should be in between these two lines and it should increase. And you see here, they are talking about this part of the graph. What should you do? You have to give the relevant x value. Simple as that. Now here at this point, what is your x value? X is equal to 1. At this point, what is your x value? X is equal to 3. Then what is the value x should have? Any values between 1 to 3. So any values more than 1 and less than 3. Okay. So your answer will be Roman number 4. Any x values more than 1 and less than 3. Now one more thing they have told you, y can be equal to 3 as well. So what will you say? X can be less than 3 or equal to 3. This will be your final answer for Roman number 5. I'm sorry, Roman number 5. Okay, guys. Right? That is your first question. Now, it took a long time for your first question, right? But for your second and third and fourth, will not take this long. Okay, because first I've taught you how to draw a graph, right? And explained you the basic 5 characteristics. Shall I quickly do a revision on what are these basic 5 characteristics? I'll write on the board. Everyone, if you want, you can write it down. Just a small summary. Okay. Yeah, you guys start jotting down. Tell me the first one. What should you, when you describe the graph, what are the 5 basic things? Anyone? Yes, very good. First of all, you have to tell whether the graph is minimum or maximum. What is the second one? Yes. Come on, guys. Very good. Then you give the minimum or maximum value, right? First you describe whether the graph is a minimum graph or a maximum graph. Then you give the minimum or the maximum value. Third one. Very good. Equation of axis of symmetry. Okay. You tell the equation of axis of symmetry. That is the point where the graph is turning. You draw a line and the relevant x value is your equation of axis of symmetry. What is the fourth one?
Coordinate.
Very good. Coordinates of the turning point. Coordinates of the turning point. Now, if you look carefully, your turning point, what is the x value? Your x value is what? That is the equation of axis of symmetry. What is your y value? Your y is the minimum value. That means your coordinates of the turning point, what does it contain? The x is the equation of axis of symmetry. Your y is the minimum value. Right. Finally, what do you describe? Lastly, very good. Roots of the graph. The point where the graph cuts the x-axis. Roots of the graph. Right. Now, another thing, see here. Now I told you, upon the axis of symmetry, your left and right on both the sides, the graph is the same. Okay. The graph is the same on your left and right. Okay. That means graph is the same. What does the graph correlate to? Your y-axis. So your y values on your left and on your right will be the same upon the turning point. Now come back to your table here. You will understand your turning point even you can tell whether the graph is a minimum or a maximum graph just looking at the table here. Look at the y value here. What is happening in the y value? 8, 3, 0, minus 1. The y value is reducing, reaching a minimum point, increasing back again. So then you can tell, just looking at the y value here, you can tell it's a minimum graph. Then what do? This is your minimum point. Upon the minimum point, your left and your right, it should be equal. So 0, 0, 3, 3, 8, and 8. Sometimes in your question, they will tell you just looking, they won't even give you the equation. Without the equation, even they'll give you a blank and they will tell you using the symmetry of the graph, fill the table. Then you should understand by reading the y values here, the graph is reaching a minimum point. Upon the minimum point, it is equal on both the left and right, symmetrical. So here if it's 0, here 0. If it's 3, this should be 3. If this is 8, this is 8. Right? That is another thing. Right. Last, I have one more thing to tell regarding the graph. With that, the theory is actually over. I just went through it very fast. Right. So then I will tell you that when we come across in a question. Right. Now take your 2018. 2018, come back to the previous one. Right. Now see there, y is a quadratic function of x. An incomplete table containing the values of y corresponding to several values of x is given below. Right? So the relevant x and the y values is given below. There is a blank for you. What is Roman number 1 saying? By considering the symmetry of the quadratic function, obtain the value of y when x is equal to 4. Right, good. Now, if anyone just looking at the table, tell me first of all whether this graph that we are going to draw, is it a maximum graph or is it a minimum graph? Quickly.
Minimum.
Very good. It's a minimum graph. Looking at the y values, you can tell. See there, the first y value is equal to 6. The second y value is equal to 0. Then minus 2. What's happening to the y value? The y value is starting to reduce. Reaching a minimum point, it should increase back again. Right? So then can someone tell me, looking at the graph, what is the minimum value that you have there?
Minus.
Very good. Minus 1. So your minimum value is minus 1. Okay. Sorry, minus 1. I'm sorry. Again.
Minus 3.
Minus 3. Right. Now, upon the minimum value, that is where the graph is turning. Your left and your right should be the same y value, should be symmetrical. Then tell me, what is the blank there?
There is 1.
Yes, what is the blank there?
1.
Wait, I'm missing minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, can you tell me what is the blank there? Blank is equal to 1. See here, the graph is reaching a minimum value and increasing back again. A minimum graph, this is your minimum point. That is where the graph is turning. Upon the minimum point, the graph should be symmetrical. Both left and right, the value should be equal. Minus 2, 1. Then this should be equal to 1, 6 and 6 there. Right? That is why I told you we'll do the 2018 the next, because I wanted to explain you regarding the symmetry of the graph. Right. Now using standard values of axes. Now tell me, what is the standard values? How many boxes will you take for 1 point? The standard value? Anyone?
2 boxes.
Large boxes. Okay, you have to tell 2 large boxes will be taken for 1 point. Give me a moment. I'm filling the ink to the marker. Okay. Okay, so then you will take 2 large boxes. So let's say this is your graph paper. So then you don't draw the x and y axis right in the middle. Analyze the value. Clearly, you have a more positive than negative of x axis. So leave room for more positive. Draw your y axis to this side. Okay. Now look at the y values. You have more positive than negative. But looking at it, you have -3 and 6 here. So leave room for -3 and draw your x axis here. So then y and x. Quickly number them. Keep two large boxes and mark the points there. Right. Now you have gained 1 marks. Actually 2 marks by filling the blank also. Right. I emphasize the marks there because easily you can gain these marks. You can never go wrong. Don't go wrong and not get the marks here. Right. So now here you can see this 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, like we have 7 points. Each point has an x and y. Those are your coordinates. So mark now -1, 6. -1, 6. That is your first point. Always keep a point or a dot. Circle it. 0, 1, 0, 1 here. 0, 1 here. Sorry. Next one, 1, 2, -2. 1, -2, that's here. So then 2, minus. If you are confused, what do you do? First of all, look at the x-axis. 2, then -3. Always get the x value first, then go to the y value. 3, -2, 3 here, then -2. 4, 1, 4 here, then 1. And 5, 6 here. So 5 and 6. Now what do? You start from the point here, join these, get a smooth graph. Okay. Getting a smooth graph again, it's a practice. Okay. You don't get it in the one go. So don't worry if you didn't get it in the one step. Learn, keep on drawing. You will definitely get it nicely at one point. Okay. Right, something like this. Okay. Now the graph is drawn, Roman number 3. Now here, see here, most of the time what they do, they give you the behavior of the graph and they tell you to write the x values. For example, they tell you write the x values when the graph is decreasing and positive, something like that. But here they have given the opposite. They have told you describe the behavior of y. Y is the graph. Describe the behavior of the graph as the x increases from 0 to 2. So from 0 to 2, when the x, what's happening? When the x is increasing, they are telling you to describe the behavior of the graph. So 0 is here, x is increasing until this point. How do you describe the graph? When the x is equal to 0, your graph is here. When x is equal to 2, your graph is here. Should be the minimum point, okay? Your graph is here. Right. Can someone tell me how to describe the behavior of the graph here? What's happening to the graph? Tell me first of all. Is the graph increasing or is the graph decreasing?
Increasing.
Graph is decreasing. First thing you will describe, graph is decreasing and what? And now you can't tell the graph is positive and negative. That's not a good answer. Now, if the graph is in both positive and negative, you will give the range of the graph. See here, from here to here, what's the range? The y is equal to 1. Here the y is equal to -3. Now, what can you say? In this graph, y is greater than -3 and less than 1 here. Okay. So y, you can see here, y is greater than -3 and what can you say? And y is less than 1. Right. So you will tell the graph is decreasing definitely. Right. And the y is less than 1 and greater than -3 in this range here. That is how you will describe the graph. You should always tell graph is increasing or graph is decreasing. Okay, that is one thing. Then you will tell if sometimes you can tell whether the graph is negative or positive, but here you can't tell why, because it's in the both the negative and positive here. So you can't tell it's negative and positive. That's a wrong way to describe it. So here you will tell the graph is decreasing and you give it a range. graph is less than 1 and greater than -3. Okay, right. Next one. Last one here. Sorry, Roman number 4. Express the quadratic function in the form of, again, in the same form. Okay, we'll learn now. See here. Quadratic function in the same form. Y is equal to, we'll stick to our basic idea. Plus or minus x plus b squared plus c. Think of this format, always you get the correct answer. Right. Now tell me, plus or minus here, is it a minimum graph or a maximum graph?
Minimum.
Minimum. So is it positive or negative?
Negative.
Positive. It's a minimum graph. So you put a plus. Usually if it's positive, you don't mention it. So we will not mention it. If it is negative, you will mention it. X. What is this B here? B is what? The negative value of the equation of axis of symmetry. Now, looking at the graph here, what is the equation of axis of symmetry?
2.
2. What is the negative value of 2?
Minus.
Minus 2. So B here will be equal to -2. You have squared. Then what is this C here?
Minimum.
The minimum value. What is the minimum value?
-3.
Minus 3.
Minus
Now
3.
you have converted. See here? Whatever they will give you the first format, you have given the graph in this relevant format. Y is equal to x minus 2 squared minus 3. That is your Roman number 4 answer. Right. Lastly, Roman number 5. Y is equal to t is a straight line parallel to the x-axis. So they are saying there is a straight line t which is equal to y. Now can be any y value, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, any y value. They are saying that straight line is parallel to the x-axis. We don't know where. We'll see where is it. What is the interval in which t should lie for this straight line and the graph of the quadratic function to intersect at 2 points with the positive x coordinate? Right? We'll read again. Y is equal to t is a straight line parallel to the x-axis. Okay. What is the interval in which t should lie for this straight line and the graph of the quadratic function to intersect at 2 points with positive x coordinates? Okay. So they are asking you, this straight line should intersect with the graph. Okay. After intersecting with the graph, now if you draw any straight line here, like if I draw it will destroy the graph. I'll just draw and show you. If you draw any straight line parallel to the x-axis, tell me each of these straight line will intersect with the graph at how many points? Anyone?
1 point.
1 point. This straight line
2 points.
all
2 points.
intersecting with the graph at 2 points. Now, what are they saying? Both of these 2 points should be positive x values, right? See what they're saying. So this, what is the interval in which t should lie for this straight line and the graph of the quadratic function to intersect at 2 points with positive x coordinates, right? So it should have positive x coordinates, right? So what is the interval this straight line should lie? Okay, now see here, look at the board. If you draw this straight line right at this point here, right? If you draw this straight line right at this point, here the relevant x is equal to 0. Here the relevant x is equal to 4. Can someone tell me, can this straight line be equal to t? Can this straight line be equal to t? What did they tell you? Both the x coordinates should be positive. Is both the x coordinate positive here?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Zero positive.
Yes, sir.
Is 0 positive?
No, neutral.
No. Only one is positive. Now, why did I take any of these values here? Definitely these are negative. Okay. If you take this as the straight line, this is definitely negative x value. right? So here you can see if you take this value here, definitely both of those points, the straight line here, one is 0, the other is 4 here. Okay, so only one is positive. I'll draw the line a bit below. If I draw the straight line here now, see here, now both of these points, the relevant x value is positive. Now that is correct. What does that mean? This straight line here should always be below this point. If it is right at this point, one is 0, the other is equal to 4. So I'll tell you, if y is equal to 1, this is a straight line, right? I have scribbled it, okay? Okay. Here, this straight line, y is equal to 1. Can you see here? This straight line is going through the 1 here. When y is equal to 1, what are the x values? One x value is 0, the other x value is equal to 4. Okay? So that means this straight line, can it be equal to 1? If it is equal to 1, x is 0. We need positive values. So definitely it should go below than this. If it go below than this, now see here, if I draw the straight line here, both the points here, both of the points where the graph and the straight line here is meeting, the relevant x value is positive. So you have to say this straight line here should be more than 1. That is one thing. Okay. This t here should be greater than 1. Sorry, less than 1. Should go down, right? So it should be less than 1. Right. Can it keep on going down? No, it can't keep on going down because after this point, there is no graph here. So the minimum value it can go is this turning point here. This turning point, what is the relevant y value? This relevant y value is equal to -3, right? When y is equal to -3, see here, they told you should have 2 x values. But when y is equal to -3, you have only 1 x value. So whatever the line, if you draw above this, you will have 2 points. Whatever the line, if you draw below this, again you will have 2 points where both of them are positive. So what will you tell? T should be less than 1 and greater than -3. So your answer should be T should be less than 1 and greater than -3. In this range, what will happen? The T, it will have 2 x values where both are positive, right? That is a bit extra question they are asking you. Now, usually 2018 past paper is a bit difficult. If you go through any question compared to any other years, that any question will have a tough Roman number. Don't worry about it, right? We are not targeting those questions. If you can answer all the other Roman numbers, 1, 2, 3, and 4, you are surely getting 8 marks. Okay. Now, don't be disheartened if you didn't get this mark. No problem. We have already got 8 marks. Always try to get 10 marks, definitely. But don't waste your time trying to get these marks. Is that clear? Right. Now, we'll go 2022 quickly. Right. We have 3 more questions. I think we can do it. Go to 2022. Okay. An incomplete table of y values corresponding to several x values of the function y is equal to 4 plus 2x minus x squared. They have given you the table again and they have asked you to fill in the blank. Right now here, with the knowledge that I gave you right now, yes, what is it?
While drawing the graph, we can use the ruler, right? So it will be more.
I can't hear you.
While drawing the graph, we can use the ruler, right? So it will be more easier.
By drawing the graph,
We can use the ruler, right? To join the points. So it will be more easier.
can you send me a message? I can't. Your voice is getting like kara kara. I don't know why. Maybe it's something wrong with my laptop.
She's asking if we can draw the graph using a ruler.
With a ruler, it's like this. I know some of you have techniques where you push the ruler when you go up as long as these are not straight lines, you should be fine. Whatever the technique that you use, your final outcome is what? Is to get a nice smooth graph. Smooth graph doesn't mean straight lines. They mean curved lines, right? Even I have used techniques when I was doing graphs, but here the best way is to learn from the beginning to draw it freehand without using any equipments. Yes, in the beginning, it will start getting a bit ugly, but later on, when you draw 10 graphs, you'll be very good at it. But when you use the ruler, you will always need the ruler. Okay. So my advice, always draw it freehand. At the end of the day, you will get it nicely. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Sir, in final exam, we have to draw with a pencil, right?
Yeah, pencil. Don't do pens, okay? If you do any mistake also, you can't erase it. So always draw with the pencil graph, they give marks. Right, even without applying the equation here, 2022, can someone fill in the blank and tell me using the symmetry of the graph? Yes, first of all, tell me, is it a maximum graph or a minimum graph looking at the y values?
Maximum graph.
See there, the y values. First you have -4, then 1, then 4. What's happening? The y values are increasing, reaching a maximum point. That is your number 5 there, and then reducing again. Right. So you have your turning point. Looking at the turning point, can you tell me what is the blank there?
4.
The blank equal to +4. Okay. But here they have told you to find the value of y. So we'll apply the equation and get it. Okay. In your mind, you know it's 4. Just using the equation, show it is 4. Don't just give the answer because they will not give you marks otherwise. Okay. So I'll quickly draw the table. So then looking at the symmetry, you can see -4, 1, 4. The value is increasing, 5, reaching a maximum point, decreasing back again. So this also should be equal to 4. So upon the turning point, you can see the values are equal. The graph is symmetrical. Okay, but we'll apply the equation. The equation is given y is equal to 4 plus 2x minus x squared. Now, one thing here, be very careful. Where should be very careful? I'll show you where you should be very careful. So 4 plus 2 into what is x? X is equal to 2. This minus, right, is part of the equation. Don't think this minus is for the x here. It is for the x squared. You will find the x squared, then multiply by the negative. Understood? What you guys do, let's say you have here x is equal to 2, right? You put this. Then what do you do? Minus 2x squared, minus 2 into minus 2 becomes +4. It is wrong. This minus is for the 2 squared. So find the 2 squared first, then multiply by the negative. So 4 plus 2 into 2 is 4. 2 squared is 4. Into minus becomes minus. +4 minus 4 becomes 0. So y is equal to 4. That is the value there. Okay. All right. Then Roman number 2, using standard system of axis and suitable scale, draw the graph. I'll quickly draw the graph. So again, just a revision on while drawing the graph on how to draw the graph, how to draw the Cartesian plane, look at the x and y values. You have more positive than negative. The y-axis will divide the x-axis. So then you need more positive than negative. So you'll draw your y-axis towards this side, leaving more room for positive. Okay. So same thing with the y-axis there. Here it's almost equal, 5 and -4, right? So then you can draw somewhat in the middle. Okay. So then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here 1, 2. So then with that, your Cartesian plane is complete. So after that, you look at your relevant x and y values. and you mark the points. Okay. So here -2, -4, -2, -4. Sorry, down here. -2, -4. First coordinate. Second point -1, 0, -1, 0. Here itself. Third one 0, 4, 0 and 4. Fourth one 1, 5. Right. Fifth one 2, 4. Then sixth one 3, 0. Then you have 4, -. After you have marked your points, join your points carefully so that you get a smooth graph here. Okay, something like this. All right. Right now you have drawn the graph. All of this will give you 4 marks out of 10. Right, we'll try to get the next 6 marks. Okay. B part. Write the intervals of x on which the function is decreasing. So first of all, identify the decreasing part. From here, the graph is increasing, reaching a maximum point, decreasing. So then the values of x should be in the decreasing part. It's decreasing, and in the interval, y is greater than 1. First of all, find the value of 1. Y is equal to 1 at this point. Right? So y is greater than 1, then the x value should be greater than this relevant y value. Because y is greater than 1, x also should be greater than that value. Right. And y is less than 4. Less than -4. 4. Here. Y is less than 4. Right. So the graph is decreasing. Graph is decreasing. And in this range, they are asking you to give the relevant x value. When the graph or the y is equal to 4, find the relevant x value. That is 2 here. When y is equal to 1, find the relevant x value here. Right. For the graph to be decreasing and in this range, the x value should be in this range. When the y is equal to 4, what is the relevant x value? That is 2. When y is equal to 1, what is the relevant x value? Can someone tell me who drew the graph? When y is equal to 1, it should be a decimal value. What is the relevant x value? Anyone who drew the graph?
So it is not a decimal value, it's 3.
Yeah, it's 3.
I'm sorry. I've marked the number wrong. So -2, -4. Then okay. Sorry. My bad. I saw the 0. The point should be here. Okay. -1, 1 for here. Right. Let me redraw it quickly. I'm sorry. Then we'll mark the points again. -2, 4. -2, 4. That's here. Then you have -1, 1. -1, 1. That is here. Then you have 0, 4. 0, 4. That is here. Then 1, 5. 2, 4. Then 1, 3. So 3, 1. Then 4, -4. Right. Quickly join these points. A nice smooth graph here. Okay. Right. Now again, graph is decreasing, and in the range, what is the range? Y is greater than 1. Right? Y is greater than 1 and less than 4. Right? So then the relevant x value here, that is 2. The relevant x value here, that is 3. So for the graph to be decreasing And in this range, the relevant x value should be between 2 and 3. So what can you say? The x value, see here, the graph to decrease, x should be more than 2. Until this point, x should be less than 3. So x value should be more than 2 and less than 3. So you give your answer here, B part, Roman number 1. X is more than 2 and less than 3. Okay? Roman number 2. Express the function in the form of y is equal to the relevant function. Okay, we'll use our format. What is our format? Y is equal to plus or minus x plus b square plus c. We can rearrange it and give the answer, no problem. Stick to this, you will never go wrong. Okay. Is it a maximum or minimum graph?
Maximum.
Maximum. Will it be positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative. So this is minus. In the bracket, x. What is this b, everyone?
Negative of axis of
Equation of axis of symmetry. What is the equation of axis of symmetry?
1.
1. The equation of axis of symmetry is 1. Negative value of that is minus 1. So x minus 1 square. What is this c? Yes?
minimum value.
Maximum value. What is the maximum value?
5.
Very good. Plus 5. Now we can rearrange this. Give the answer. They have taken this 5 front, this c front, and put this next to it. So y is equal to 5, and you have this part. Okay. So 5 minus, okay, x minus 1 squared. That is your answer. Okay, the same thing. They have just rewritten it. Okay, last one. Last one is the one that I told you I'll teach you when I come across in the question. Okay. Oh, shall we do it late?
Must you rearrange the final answer?
What should be the final answer? This is the final answer.
Sir, isn't it 5 minus x? No, 1 minus 1 minus x.
5 minus, sorry,
Minus 1 minus x.
minus 1 minus x. No. This is correct. This should be the answer. Okay? Sure, this should be the answer. Yeah.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, can you explain that one again? Second question.
This part.
Yeah.
Okay. So same format. See here. Y is equal to, we remember this format, plus or minus x plus b squared plus c. We have to know what is b and c. Okay. So this plus or minus will tell you, you have to write whether it's a maximum or minimum graph. This is a maximum graph, so it is minus. Open the bracket here. X, right? So then this b means the negative of the axis of symmetry. Your axis equation of axis of symmetry is 1. Negative of that is minus 1. So minus 1 square. C value is your maximum value, that is plus 5 here. Okay. So that is plus 5. Now in the answer, they want you to rearrange this. Bring this front here, put this behind. We'll give the answer like that. Y is equal to, okay, 5 minus x minus 1 square. Okay.
So in the question, inside the bracket, they say a minus x squared. No?
No, it's okay. If you open the bracket, you will get the same answer. Okay. Understood? Now, you want me to open the bracket and show you? Right, okay. So you have x minus 1 square. If you open the bracket, what do you have? X squared minus 2x plus 1. Same thing. If I write 5 minus 1 minus x squared, what will I have? 5 minus 1 squared is 1 minus x into 1 minus x into 2 minus 2x minus x into minus x, that is plus x squared. What about it? Both are same answer, right? Okay. Understood? Nashiba?
No, sir.
No, now here, if you open the bracket here, x minus 1 squared is a perfect square, right? Square for binomial expression. We have three terms. Square of the first term, x square. What is the second term? Multiply both of them together, minus x. Multiply by 2, you get minus 2x. Minus 1 squared, so minus 1 into minus 1 plus 1. If you open the bracket here, then the other way around, 1 minus x squared. Right? What do you have here? 1 square, that is 1. 1 into minus x is minus x into 2 minus 2x minus x squared minus x into minus x, that is plus x squared. Both of them, you get the same answer. Okay. I didn't tell you to change it. Then don't worry. Your answer, they'll give you marks if you write it this way. It's the same thing. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I didn't tell you to change it because always stick to a method, right? Otherwise, you'll confuse yourself at the end of the exam. Don't worry. This is definitely the correct answer. All right. So,
Sir, check my one and I'm showing it.
send me a photo on WhatsApp. It's much easier. I can't find. Okay. Right. Now, leave the last one, Roman number 3. Because that will take more time if I explain and I can't finish the other two. Come to 2023. Now, in 2023, there was a unique year where they gave you the graph and they told you to answer. So, the problem there, you got practiced a lot how to draw the graph, right? So then drawing the graph gave you 4 marks. Now you lose that opportunity. You might think we don't have to draw the graph. No. All this while you practice to draw the graph, right? So if you get something like this, I would say it's a losing opportunity because what? You lose those 4 marks, the easy marks. Anyways, you can answer this. Don't worry. Okay, you can answer this. The graph of the function of the form y is function, fx is function, right, is shown in the figure. So there y is a function of a graph. Roman number 1, write the coordinates of point A and the coordinates of the point at which the graph intersects the y-axis respectively, right? Respectively. Tell me, write the coordinates of point A and the coordinates of the point at which the graph intersects the y-axis respectively. First of all, on the graph, you have a point A. Can someone unmute and tell me? Easy, yeah? These questions are easy. What is the coordinate of point A?
-1,
First give the x value, then give the y value. Right? So -1, 5. Then the next thing they are telling you, give the coordinates where the graph is cutting the -1, -5. Right? Give the part where the graph is cutting the graph is cutting the y-axis. Where intersecting means cutting, okay? Tell me the coordinates of the point where the graph is cutting the y-axis.
0 and -8.
0, -8. Easy. 1 or 2 marks, probably 2 marks. Okay, next. Write the roots of the equation of the function of which the graph has been drawn. Easy. What are roots? Roots are point where the graph is cutting the x-axis. Right. Tell me the roots of this graph, everyone.
-2, 4.
X is equal to, what is the answer? X is equal to -2 or x is equal to 4. This should be the way you write the answer, okay? Don't just write -2 and 4, no marks. Okay, they'll be strict because the question is easy. Roman number 3. Write the intervals of values of x on which the function is negative and increasing. First of all, find the part where it is negative. The below part here. I'll just draw a rough diagram, okay? The below part here is the part where the graph is negative and it should be increasing. So then from here, this point onwards, the graph is increasing. So what should you give? You have to give the relevant x value. This is the x value here. The graph is increasing and negative. Find out the x here, you give the range. Can someone tell me the answer for that? Yes?
X is greater than 1, less than 4.
Very good. X is greater than 1. See there? At this point, the x value is 1. Here the x value is 4. So x is greater than 1. Always we read the graph in this way, the way that x is increasing. So from here to here, when from this point onwards, the graph is negative and increasing until this point. At this point, x is equal to 1. When x is equal to 1, is the graph increasing? No, the graph is at the flat point. For the graph to increase, x should be greater than 1. So x is greater than 1. Until what point the graph is negative? Until x is equal to 4. When x is equal to 4, the graph is 0. Is it negative? No. That means x should be less than 4. Okay. So then this is a range. X is greater than 1 and x is less than 4. Roman number 4. Write the function in the form that we learned, where you have the negative of the axis of symmetry and the minimum value, right? Now you have the form. We'll stick to our form, plus or minus x plus b squared plus c. Tell me first of all, is it a maximum or a minimum graph?
Minimum.
Minimum. So will it be positive or negative?
Positive.
Not include the positive, but you know it's positive, right? Then in the bracket x, this b here, negative of the axis of symmetry. What is your axis of symmetry?
1.
What is the negative of
Minus 1.
minus 1? So x minus 1 square. What is this c?
9.
C is the minimum value. So your minimum value is 9. Plus or minus?
Minus 9.
Minus. So your final answer, y is equal to x minus 1 squared minus 9. Okay, last, Roman number 5. Write the coordinates of the minimum point. First of all, write the coordinates of the minimum point. Can someone tell me the coordinate of the minimum point here? Yes, easily.
X is 1 and y is minus 5.
1, minus 9. That is your coordinate. Okay. And the relevant quadratic function of the graph that is obtained by translating the given graph vertically upwards by 4 units in the coordinate plane without changing its shape. Right. I forgot to tell you that also. Right. So the graph can be shifted up or down and left and right. Right. When the graph is shifted, they won't change the shape of the graph, just shifting it up or down or left and right. When the graph is shifted up or down, what will change is your minimum value. If it's a minimum graph, your minimum value. It's a maximum graph, your maximum value. Well, let's say, when you move the graph upward, let's say by 2 units. When you move the graph upward by 2 units, if you move it by 1 unit, before the minimum value was minus 9, now it will become minus 8. By 2 units, now it will become minus 7. So if I draw the graph will be something like this. This is when the graph is moved upwards by 2 units. So when you move the graph up or down, what will happen? The minimum or the maximum value will change. What will happen if you move the graph left or right? What will change? Can someone tell me? When you move the graph left or right, what will change? Sorry?
Axis of symmetry.
The axis of symmetry will change, right? Now here, the axis of symmetry is 1. Let's say I move the graph to the left-hand side by 2 units. Before it was 1, by 2 units, then 0 and minus 1. So if I draw the graph here, if I erase this, and draw the graph here by moving it by 2 units, then here it is minus 1. So the graph will be something like this here. This is just without changing up or down, just by moving it to the left-hand side by 2 units. Now your axis of symmetry is minus 1. So remember, when you move the graph up or down, what will change is your minimum or maximum value. When you move the graph left or right, what will change is your axis of symmetry. Okay, this is always without changing the shape of the graph. Now tell me the answer for this. Now the new equation, they want the new equation when you move the graph upwards, right? Without changing it left or right, just moving it upwards by 4 units. Can someone tell me it's moving upwards, right? Can someone tell me, will the axis of symmetry change?
No.
No, the axis of symmetry would change. They are not left or right. Then what will change?
Minimum or maximum value.
Here it is now is it minimum maximum? Your minimum
Minimum.
value will change.
The minimum.
The original minimum value was -9. If you moved it upwards by 4 units, what will be your new minimum value?
Minus 5.
-5. Now let's say this is -5. If I draw the graph here, this will be your new graph, right? Now looking at the new graph, this is a quadratic function, okay? Now give the new quadratic function. Y is equal to, again it's a minimum graph, so positive, x. Will this b value change, anyone?
No.
No, because axial symmetry is not changing. This b value won't change, but your minimum value is now -5. So this is your new function. Is that clear, everyone? Any doubt here? Okay, we'll stop the class here, right? Because we have one more question. I mean, we did 5 questions today, right? That's an achievement because usually we do only 4 questions, right? But doing 5 questions along with learning a lot on the graph is an achievement, right? I would say it's an achievement. So then please do this 2024. We'll discuss it next class along with the new questions that I give you. If you have any doubt, you can stay back and ask me. If not, that's it for today. Thank you for staying until
I
the
have a doubt.
yeah, sure. And good night, everyone. Okay.
For what